Summary of Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. Willie Loman, a traveling salesman, gets off of a sales trip early and goes back to his home in Brooklyn. At age 63, he no longer gets a salary and works only on compensation. He hasn't sold anything on this trip. His son Biff has been working on farms and ranches all over the West for more than 10 years. He just came home to figure out what he wants to do with the rest of his life. Willie thinks Biff hasn't done as well as he could have. But Biff tells Happy, who works in a department store as an assistant to the assistant buyer, that he is happier when he works outside than when he tried to work in an office. Willie is alone in his kitchen when he thinks back to when Biff and Happy were young boys and looked up to him as a hero after he came back from a work trip. He compares himself and his kids to his business-savvy next-door neighbor Charlie and Charlie's serious student son Bernard. Willie thinks that Charlie and Bernard don't have the natural charm that the Loman men have, which he thinks is the real key to success. But when his wife Linda asks him about the trip, Willie admits that his fee was so small that they won't be able to pay all their bills and that he has a lot of doubts about himself. Even as Linda tries to calm him down, he hears the woman, his lover in Boston, laugh. Willie's friend Charlie comes over to check on him. Willie starts talking to the ghost of his brother Ben while they are playing cards. Ben left home when he was 17 and made a lot of money from diamonds in Africa and Alaska. Willie turns down Charlie's job offer because he is proud, even though he has been taking money from Charlie every week to pay for his bills. Willie compares himself to Ben and to their equally adventurous and strange father, who left them when they were young. This makes Willie feel bad. He goes out into his backyard to look at the stars. Linda talks to the boys about how Willie's mind is getting worse. She tells him that he tried to kill himself in a car accident and by breathing in gas through a rubber hose on the heater. Biff is upset, but he agrees to stay home and try to borrow money from Bill Oliver, his old boss, so that he and Happy can start a sports goods business, which will make their father happy. Willie is very excited about this idea, and he gives Biff tips about how to ask for the loan that doesn't make sense. The next morning, Willie goes to his boss Howard Wagner at Linda's suggestion and asks for a job in the New York office, which is closer to home. Howard says no to Willie's request, even though Willie has worked for the company longer than Howard has been living. Willie keeps begging Howard, but with more and more intensity, until Howard fires him. Willie feels bad about himself, so he goes to Charlie's office to borrow money. There, he meets Bernard, who is now a successful lawyer. Willie's son Biff, on the other hand, has only ever played high school football. Biff and Happy have plans to meet Willie at Frank's Chop House for dinner. Before Willie gets there, Biff tells Happy that Oliver turned his back on him when he asked for the loan, so he stole Oliver's pen to get back at him. Happy tells him to lie to Willie so that he doesn't lose hope. Willie sits down at the table and tells Biff right away that he was fired, so Biff should tell him something good to tell Linda. Biff and Willie fight while Willie is overcome by painful memories from his past. Willie stumbles to the toilet and thinks back to Biff's last day of high school, when he failed a maths class and went to Boston to tell his father. He found Willie in a hotel room with the woman. He was so disappointed in his former hero that he gave up on college and decided to follow Willie's path. While Willie is lost in this thought, Biff and Happy leave the restaurant with 2 call girls. When Biff and Happy get back home, Linda is angry at them for leaving their father. Biff looks for Willie in the backyard because he feels bad about what he did. He is trying to plant seeds in the middle of the night and talking to the ghost of his brother Ben about a plan to leave his family $20,000 from his life insurance. Biff says that he is finally going to be himself, that neither he nor Willie will ever be great men, and that Willie should accept this and give up his twisted version of the American dream. At the end of this fight, Biff is so upset that he starts to cry. This makes Willie even more determined to kill himself out of love for his son and family. He drives off to his death. Willie's funeral is attended only by his family, Charlie and Bernard. Willie died for nothing, according to Biff. Charlie, on the other hand, remembers Willie as a seller who, by necessity, had nothing to sell but his dreams. Willie says goodbye to Linda, and Linda tells him that the house is paid off and that they are finally free of their debts, but now nobody will live in the house.
About the author. Arthur Miller was born in Manhattan to a Jewish family in the middle class. In 1929, when the stock market crashed, his father's clothes business failed, so the family moved to Brooklyn, where they could find cheaper housing. Miller was not a smart boy, but he chose to become a writer and went to the University of Michigan to study journalism. There, he won awards for the plays he wrote. After college, he worked for the government's Federal Theater Project, but it was soon shut down because of fears that communists might get involved. He married Mary Slattery, his college love, in 1940, and they had 2 children together. The Man Who Had All the Luck, his first play, opened in 1944, but All My Sons, which came out in 1947, was Miller's first big hit. Death of a Salesman, which he wrote in 1948, won a Tony Award and the Pulitzer Prize and made him famous. Miller wrote The Crucible in 1952. It was a play about the Salem witch trials of 1692, but it was also a metaphor for the House Un-American Activities Committee's purges of artists and media figures. Miller appeared in front of this committee, but he didn't say that any of his friends were communists. Because of this, he was put on a blacklist. He got married to the star Marilyn Monroe in 1956. In 1961, they split up. Inga Morath, a photographer, was his third wife. Miller kept writing until 2005 when he died.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.